Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Veterinary Business Podcast, your ultimate resource for developing a successful veterinary practice and career. I'm Dr. Amanda Landis-Hanna, one of the co-hosts of the Veterinary Business Podcast. On this podcast, we bring you insights and expertise from industry-leading doctors, experts, and thought leaders. We cover a wide range of topics, including practice management, marketing strategies, leadership development, HR best practices, and much more. Whether you are a practicing veterinarian, a practice owner, a practice manager, or a student studying to be a veterinarian, this podcast is tailored to help you navigate the unique challenges and opportunities of the business of veterinary medicine. Every listener of this podcast is welcome to visit the website www.veterinarybusinessinstitute.com for additional resources and tools to support your growth. And remember, you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and other popular podcast platforms. Today, I'm excited to talk to Naren Arulrajah, CEO of Ekwa Marketing and Founder of Veterinary Business Institute, about the simple guide to getting more 5-star Google reviews than any other practice in your community. Let's jump in. Before we get started, Naren, why don't you take a minute to tell us a bit about yourself? Who are you? How did you get into the veterinary industry? Tell us your story, please.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you for co-hosting this podcast, for everything you do to the veterinary profession. Of course, appreciate you as a mom, because I have 2 daughters and you have 2 daughters. So I guess we have that in common, just slightly different age, our kids, but it's probably the best experience in life. It's not the easiest, but it's definitely the best. So thank you for everything you do. A little bit about myself. I'm Naren Arulrajah, and like you said, I'm the founder and CEO of Ekwa Marketing. And also, we started the Veterinary Business Institute a little while back. And so I guess I am an accidental entrepreneur. I got fired 4 times in a row, back in 1999 to 2001. And after the 4th time, I told my wife, we were newly married, my wife was pregnant, I can't do this because I'll get fired for the 5th time and I'm going to check myself into a mental asylum thinking I'm a loser, I'm this, I'm that, probably go into depression and things like that. So she's like, okay, I get it. So I try to figure out how to run my own business. And the first 4 years, when my daughter was, right when she was born, I think it was in December of 2002. 2002, I got fired for the last time. She was born in September. And, I struggled. I just made every mistake in the book, trying to figure out what business is, how to make it work. And I learned a few lessons, like focus on helping others get what they want. You have no competition. That's a quote from Dale Carnegie. And he said it I think in the 30s, which is almost like, I guess, 100 years ago today, but it still is more valid than ever. Most of us as business owners are like, what's in it for me? How do I get what I want? As opposed to, how do I help others get what they want? Whether it's your team members or whether it's your, customers. So those kind of lessons really helped me. And so after struggling in 2007, we started working with a doctor, and this was, I don't want to make the story longer than it needs to be. And then he saw amazing success in dominating Google and getting new patients. And then that turned into an entire business. And today we have 250 people. What I'm most proud of is, 95% of our clients stay with us for life. And that number continues to, improve. And what that tells me is, it's easy to get a client because you can promise them the world, the moon, the sun, the earth. But if you can't keep them, then you have this huge hole. And then your job is just filling the hole. And that is not fun. And I don't really enjoy sales. So I don't really enjoy it. So even today, even with 250 people, we have 2 people in our sales team. And still everybody else is there to take care of customers. So I guess it's just a different way to think, and different philosophies. I guess that's the thing about being an entrepreneur. You can create your own world, so to speak, and do things the way you want. So that's my story. And then of course we started working with veterinary practices, I think around 12 years ago. And we realized, how do we give back to the community, and how do we do it in a productive way? And being an internet guy, and that's where I've been. I have worked from home for since 2002, so 21 years. And before work from home was cool, we have been doing it, not just me, but the entire company. So, so in that sense, internet is kind of how people who are, anywhere communicate and do things. And so we decided to give back, and we decided to do something very unique, do everything online. So virtual events, podcasts, virtual membership area. So all these things where we want to be the best in the world at providing value online for practice owners and practice administrators who are looking to learn the craft of business and improve that. So that's kind of the short story of who I am and where I am today.
That's wonderful. And you're absolutely right. Things have gone completely online. You were ahead of the curve for sure. So it's great to know you have such fabulous experience in the online world. And especially thank you for giving back to the veterinary practices. What are some of the specific goals a veterinary practice should set when it comes to things like Google reviews?
That's a great question. And I really look forward to our conversation on our topic today. Simple guide to getting more 5-star Google reviews than any other practice in your community. Simple guide to getting more 5-star Google reviews than any other practice in your community. That is the number one goal. I mean, find out in your community, in your area where you draw your patients from, who are all the practices. Just Google, veterinary practice reviews, and then see who has how many reviews. And your goal, I think the first and foremost goal should be you should be the one with the most number of 5-star Google reviews in your community. Of course, if you don't want to sit there and literally count how many 5-star reviews you have, just look at the total number of reviews and look at the average star. So for example, if somebody has 4.9, 4.8, and they have 300 reviews, there's a good chance most of those 300 reviews are going to be 5-star reviews. So, so be the practice with the most number of reviews. Now, that's the overall overarching goal. Think of it like a vision, but the mission is to at least get 10 love letter reviews a month. And I will get into this more, but you want to make sure that every single month you're getting 10 people raving about you on Google. And if you do that for a year, just 10, right? You have 120 people raving about you in a year. In 2 years, that's 240. So you can really, really, really start moving the needle by just taking bite-sized pieces, but doing it consistently. So it's not like, oh, some weeks or some months I have a lot of reviews and then other months zero or almost zero. Rather, it's just consistency, right? Like, if it's 10, which is your goal, every week you need 3 reviews. That's it. So that's all you need to think about. How do I get 3 reviews? And there are steps we'll get into. And so those are the goals. Get 10 or more love letter reviews a month. And in the long term, try to be the practice with the most number of 5-star reviews in your community.
Can you describe for us what a love letter review is and how to ask or encourage patients to give you some of those love letter reviews?
That's a great question. So love letter reviews are paragraph or reviews with many sentences. And typically when people write paragraphs with many sentences, then assuming these patients, love you, meaning they appreciate you, they think of the world of you, they are going to be love letters. I mean, literally, they're going to say, oh, I love this team. They take care of, my pet like it's their own, and my pet looks forward to going, to this practice. They're so kind. They are proactive. They tell me things I don't even know about, so that I can make sure that my family member, which is my pet, is in optimal health. So it's really praising why they like your practice. And unfortunately, it's very, very easy to get negative reviews because negative reviews today are used almost like a stick to beat up a practice. And usually it's used by people, who had a bad day and whatever you did just, you know, kind of rubbed the wrong way and they're really mad, and a lot of times it has nothing to do with you. It's just they're having a bad day. And sometimes it's, people who are disgruntled employees, for some reason they want to quote unquote take revenge. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes it's a competition because they feel like the way to grow their business is to beat up somebody else's business. So they directly, or some people in the practice will write nasty reviews. And I would like to say it's not happening, but it is happening. I see this a lot in the veterinary space. So love letter reviews just don't show up. Negative reviews will just show up. You have to, have a method and a process to get love letter reviews. And all of this starts with an inspired team that really cares about this and really sees this as part of their job. And I'll touch on that later, during this conversation. But let's park that for a minute. Let's park, how do we create a team that is passionate about getting 10 or more love letter reviews a month? And let's just talk about the mechanics of how to get it. So the best way, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Dr. Robert Cialdini. He's the one who wrote the book called Influence. So it's all about how do you influence people to get the outcomes you want, whether it's getting them to accept treatment, whether it's getting them to write a review. It's really influencing people to get the outcomes you want. You can apply this with your kids, you can apply this with your social situation, and of course in your business. So he talks about 6 principles of influence. Now it's 7. And what he says is you can use these principles to create a moment when people are 3 or 4 times more likely to do the things you want them to do. So you use these principles to create a moment when people are 3 or more times likely to do the things you want. The catch is the moment is very short-lived, so you have to use that moment. And I'm certified by Dr. Robert Cialdini's Cialdini Institute, so I can actually teach these principles. And one of those principles is called reciprocity. And what that means is when a person feels grateful, that is the best moment to ask them for something. So let's say you want your neighbor to keep an eye on your house, right? And you and your neighbor are friends, even though you might not be close. Let's say you're going on a trip. So you might take this wonderful cake. You heard 2 years ago that they love this certain kind of a cake. So you take that exact cake, go knock on their door and say, "Hey, I just want to say hi. It's Christmas season. I just wanted to, wish you for Christmas and, say thank you for being an awesome neighbor. And oh, got this cake you love and hope you enjoyed." And the neighbor is out of the moon because it was unexpected. They didn't expect it. They really, really appreciate you. They're like, "Thank you so much. You just read my mind. This is my favorite cake." Of course, you know that. That's why you got them that cake. And they're feeling really, really grateful. That might be the best moment to ask them, "Hey, this is awesome." And, before that moment vanishes, we're just going on a 4-day trip. Can you just keep an eye on my house? I know you don't have to do anything, but just keep an eye just in case. Of course, we'll keep an eye on your house. Oh, by the way, we'll even, take any stuff out of your mailbox and, leave it wherever you want us to leave it. So it doesn't feel like you guys are out of the house. So the neighbor will go out of the way to be helpful because in that moment, they're feeling supremely grateful, which is one of the influence principles that Cialdini talks about, that creates the moment where people are more likely to do what you want them to do. So that's a simple example, right? So how do you apply this in a practice setting? So, there's a couple of ways. Of course, for most pet owners, their pet is a family member. I mean, I would say for all, at least in 2020, 4. So, the more you appreciate the pet, the more you have fun with the pet, the more you, like, oh, take a picture with them and like, say, "Hey, she's so cute." I mean, they're going to feel really, really appreciative. Or the way you treat the pet, right? You take care of it. You don't make them wait. You answer their questions. You are kind. They're going to feel appreciative. So anytime they start complimenting you and, saying, "Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. I love coming here. You're just the opposite of the last place I went to. And this, and this," and they start praising you, right? That's the moment you want to ask for that love letter review. We love taking care of you. Thank you so kindly for sharing what you just told me. Can I ask you for a tiny favor? They're like, "Of course." Why? Because they're feeling grateful, they're feeling appreciative. So what did I say? They're 3 times more likely to comply. And the tiny favor is, let me send you a quick text. It'll have a link to our Google My Business page. Can you spend 2 minutes to write a review? Of course, share what you just told me because I would love to attract more patients or more pet parents like you to our practice because we like serving people like you. Pet parents like you are the ones we love coming to work here every day. So then, of course, you guys are amazing. I'll do everything I can to help. So, and the key is remember the moment. So you have to send that text when they are being grateful, when they are in the office, not when they're leaving your office and they're thinking about what's next. Remember, the moment vanishes. So that's kind of at a high level technique. It's easier said than done, but the good news is every practice that follows our methodology, we have a tool called Grow My Reviews, succeeds marvelously. Of course, it's going to take a bit of work, but it's amazingly powerful. The reason is getting a review that doesn't have these paragraphs is as good as not getting a review for lots of reasons. It's technical as well as it's psychological. People are much more likely to come to a practice that has a love letter reviews than just no word or 1 or 2 word reviews.
Okay. Well, that's incredibly helpful and certainly something that I think that most practices will be very enlightened to hear about how to engage clients in love letter reviews. But what happens when you get a negative review?
Yeah, so when you get a negative review, I think the number one thing is psychology, right? I know a lot of doctors care about what they do. They got into veterinary medicine to make a difference. So when somebody says something that is not true and hurtful, it really upsets them. And also a lot of them have they're the kids when they were in school who got hundreds or 90s, right? That's how you get into vet school. I mean, so you really care about, grades and what other people think and so forth. So you have to kind of understand you cannot please everyone, right? It is just the nature of game, especially if you are serving human beings. There's no way, nobody on the planet that I know of who can please everyone. So you have to take it with that perspective and also look at it like people understand that too. So it's not about whether you have that one negative review or two negative reviews. It's like how many stars do you have? How many love letter reviews you have? So in the whole, if 85% of them or 90% of them are awesome people saying awesome things about you, versus like 5% or less saying not too good things about you, people get it. Now of course, you can respond if you don't think this is a real patient. You can say, we try to look you up, we couldn't. Why don't you call our office and we'll do everything we can to help you. You don't want to like start fighting with the
Mhm.
person. You don't want to look mean. You want to be like the magnanimous person who's just kind regardless of what somebody has to say. And then most importantly, psychologically, don't let it impact you, because I know practice owners who just have a bad day, bad week because of that one negative review. Every time they're talking about it, every conversation they're talking about it. So don't be that person. On the other hand, what did I say at the beginning? Set the goals, right? 10 or more love letter reviews a month. Because remember, when you have those love letter reviews coming in, it'll drown out the negative review. And also your average rating will continue to go up because, one negative review versus 10 positive reviews, do the math, right? It doesn't have much of an impact.
Absolutely. How do you manage the Google profile of your veterinary practice?
This gets really technical because to answer this question, I have to kind of give you a perspective on the business of Google and the business of the internet. So, as many of you know, Google makes more money than all the other marketing companies combined in the world. They made in the year 2022, for which I have data, um, they made $224 billion just from Google Ads, $224 billion. Just to put this in perspective, there's only 55 countries in the world that whose GDPs are bigger than $224 billion out of around close to 200 countries. Think about it. So 150 countries or so make less money in a year than Google makes from ads. So this is huge, right? So when you have so much money at play, there are rules to the game, and sometimes they're invisible rules. The rules are Google needs SEO, meaning all the people who are finding your business for free, because without those people using Google to find answers to their question, people use Google, I think 8.5 billion times a day, 8.5 billion times a day. Google can't sell any ads, so they need the people who are who are marketing people who get their clients to show up at the very top, because that's the reason why people use Google to find those answers. But they have to keep that population really, really, really tiny. Because think about it, if everybody got free traffic, who's going to give Google $224 billion? So that pie, pie gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So today it's less than 5%. So more than 95% of the practices will get zero traffic for free, and 5% will get, you know, all the other traffic, whether it's on Google Maps, which is where reviews come in, or whether it's on the regular Google search. So Google makes things extremely hard because that's how they make their money. Now think of it like this, right? It's like getting into the best vet school on the planet or in the country. You have to ace everything, right? Amazing GPAs, amazing references, amazing, things you did during your undergraduate, great interview. So everything has to be like A plus, A plus. If you do get A plus, A plus, then you get admitted to that school. Now, of course, vet school is not free, but Google SEO is free. So Google SEO is like getting into that top school or top university every day. So there are a lot of nuances. And part of the problem is Google algorithms are changing 3,000 times a year. That is 10 times a day. And that applies to Google My Business as well as the regular SEO. So part of your job, if you really, really want to master, is to keep up with those changes, keep up with those 10 changes a day. Now, the problem I find with a lot of practice owners and doctors is they love medicine and they love taking care of their pets. So they don't really have the time to, dedicate 15, 20 hours to keep up with everything. So I'll just give you a few things you need to pay attention to. Again, you can read a book on it, so I'm not going to give you a book explanation, but rather just high level bullet points. Number one, there is something called Google My Business page, and that is really technical. First, you have to get a hold of it. Again, to get a hold of it, you have to sometimes get a verification, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. And then you have to manage it. Like, for example, sometimes you'll have duplicate listings. So there'll be 2 or 3 listings. Why does it happen? Because there is a place on the internet where maybe your name is spelled differently or your address is spelled differently. And all of a sudden, Google might create 2 listings and now your reviews are getting split. Google is getting confused. So even though you might have 4.9 stars and 200 reviews or 300 reviews, you're not getting the amount of free traffic you should be getting. And There's something else called NAP. So Google doesn't just look at only its profiles, it's looking at every review site. Like there are hundreds of them. And then again, if those sites don't have consistent information, you don't show up. So again, Google kind of does it partly because it wants to keep the number of people paying ad money at a very large amount. And partly, I think that's the real motivation because, Google has stockholders, people who own Google stock, and they want Google stock to go up. How does Google stock go up? They make more money every year, right? It's just simple economics. If they can't make more money every year, then why would somebody pay more money for their stock? So if I'm the CEO and my compensation is driven by how much the stock price goes up, which is typically what happens if you are the CEO of a large company, then you're doing everything in your power to keep driving your price up, keep driving your price up. So there's a lot of economics. So I think you need to work with a professional who knows what they're doing. But the catch is you can't just find a professional who understands Google My Business. You need to find somebody who does the whole thing, your website, your SEO, because the reason is they're all interconnected. So you can't do one without the other. Like they're all like linked together, even your NAP, right? So I think you can try to do it, but I have never seen a practice owner who successfully does it consistently for more than like a week or two. But even then, it just gets overwhelming because it's like a 15 to 20-hour job to keep on top of all these rules, do all the things you're supposed to.
Are there any specific stats that you're looking for? Say, for instance, starred reviews or percentages that would help make things a little bit more clear and basic for all of us Google business newbies?
Yeah, again, getting stats is not that easy, but you can. So once you log into your Google My Business page, you can get certain kinds of information. For example, Google will tell you how many people saw your Google My Business page in that month. Like many of our clients are seen 30,000 times, 20,000 times in a single month just from Google My Business. Remember, this is without counting all the SEO traffic. So that's a stat, right? How many people are seeing me on Google? The second stat is how many of those people clicked driving directions. Typically, if 120 people click driving directions, those 120 people, at least a large number of them, ended up showing up at the practice, right? Otherwise, why would they click driving directions? Because driving directions is, okay, I'm wherever I am, I want to get to your office right now. So again, that's a good stat, right? So okay, 120 people came to my office thanks to what I did on my Google My Business page. I mean, think about it, right? If each patient is worth, $1,000, because usually these are like lifelong relationships, even half of 120 is 60 people. That's like $60,000 worth of relationships. So of course, there's going to be existing patients there. Typically, it's only 20% of them are new patients. So you have to, do all the math to figure all of this stuff out. The other thing is how many people are calling you, because again, Google knows when somebody presses that phone number on the Google My Business page, and it'll tell you, okay, this month you got 75 calls or 89 calls from the Google My Business page. So these are the 3 big stats. And this is like the most successful veterinary practice owners, they don't try to become marketing experts, but they know what's important to pay attention to. So they're paying attention to how many people are seeing me on Google. They're paying attention to how many people are looking up driving directions, and they're paying attention to how many calls are coming in. And what they're trying to do is with their marketing company, they're trying to make sure these numbers continue to, you know, grow and stay up. So that's I guess 3 of the metrics that I would strongly recommend that you pay attention to.
Excellent. So, how do you leverage this data onto your website? How do you use Google reviews on your website?
Yeah. So the way you use Google reviews on your website is Google has something called, again, I'm getting technical again. Google has something called Google Eat, and Google has 6 things you have to do for you, and you have to ace these 6 things. Just like that, veterinary school example, where you have to ace 5 or 6 things. You have to ace every one of these 6 things for you to get into the top 5%, to both get traffic from SEO and from Google Maps. And one of those 6 things that impact how well you do on SEO and on Google Maps is called Google Eat. And here, E stands for expertise, A for authority, T for trust. So T for trust, you have to somehow embed those reviews on the relevant pages. So people are talking about vaccinations. Perhaps there's a person who talked about vaccinations in their review. You need to embed that review on your vaccinations page. So that'll increase your chances of ranking for those types of keywords. Again, today, it's not just a single keyword to do with vaccination. There might be 30 different permutations and combinations of keywords, like dog vaccine near me and dog vaccine zip code, and you name it. So whatever they type in, you show up both organically and on the maps. But one of the ways to show up is you don't just get the reviews, but then you know how to embed those reviews on the relevant page on your website. Remember, I said they're all interconnected. So this is what I mean. Like, you need one company who knows all of this, who are putting the hours in to kind of make all of these dots connect. So that's the secret.
Excellent. Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation. If a practice wants to learn more, how can that practice learn more?
Absolutely. So, I mean, this is the new year, so we're going to gift what we call a marketing strategy meeting to you. So it's a no cost meeting. Typically, we charge around $900 for it. And prior to the meeting, our team will look at, are you in that top 5% of Google My Business as well as Google SEO? If you are, keep doing what you're doing. If you are not, remember, you will get very, very, very little traffic or benefit from Google. So if you're not in the top 5%, we'll also tell you why. Okay, here are the 6 things Google cares about. How are you doing on those 6 things? Where are you getting an A? Where are you getting a B? Where are you getting a C? And again, it's specific to your practice. So our team will spend 6 hours figuring all of this stuff out, and they'll give you a grade on all these 6 things. And not only that, then they'll give you a plan. So it doesn't matter whether you're getting a C here and a D there. How can you turn it around in a 12-month period? What are the goals you need to set? And of course, that's our gift to you. It's called the Marketing Strategy Meeting. It's ekwa.com/MSM. MSM for Marketing Strategy Meeting. ekwa.com/MSM. We'll put a link, I think, in the show notes, so you can also go there and click on it. Take advantage of it, because if you don't know where you start and you don't have a plan, you can't even take action, right? Like, first step is knowing where you stand and coming up with a plan. So work on it, get that plan, and then make 2024 your best year yet by attracting people who are looking for quality veterinary practices, who have wonderful Google reviews, who are doing excellent work. The only thing is, just because you have 300 reviews, but if people are not finding you, who cares, right? It's like you're the best vet in town, but nobody knows you're the best vet in town because you're not showing up on Google searches. So I think you need both. So Google reviews is great, but it's almost like table stakes. It alone is not enough, at least in 2024.
Thank you so much, Naren. I really appreciate that. As a practicing veterinarian, this has given me a lot of insight into what options and opportunities are available within veterinary practices. Again, thank you so much for joining us today and talking to us about a simple guide to getting more 5-star Google reviews than any other practice in your community. We appreciate it so much and really thank you for your time. I also want to take a moment to thank our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. We cannot do what we do without you. If you like our podcast, kindly share it with your colleagues and friends on social media. Also, please don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. We've been talking about reviews this whole time. Feel free to leave us a 5-star review. Your reviews will help other veterinarians and practice owners find us. And until next time, keep striving for excellence and making a positive impact in the lives of your patients and pet parents. We're wishing you an amazing week and a very happy 2024.